Welcome into Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now here are your hosts, Jeff and Nicole Essig.
All right, welcome back to the Fitness Fanatics. So we are now joined live by Fit Franchise Brand CEO Bryan Klein and founder of the Max Fitness and Wellness Centers. So we wanted to bring him in. This is our 3-year anniversary on our show. Our first show ever, we had Lance Farrell as our first guest, which led to Mark Einweiler signing up for the 10-week challenge, which led to Mark Einweiler being the national challenge winner. It was just kind of a storied year and a half run for us at the ticket. It was pretty awesome. So now here we are on our 3-year anniversary of doing the Fitness Fanatics. And we thought, what a great guest, but to have kind of like our new boss on. On the first show. Now we have our new boss on 3 years later. No, I'm just kidding when I say boss, but it's just kind of funny, you know. Bryan, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. Now you're out in New Jersey, correct?
I am all the way out here in New Jersey. Yep.
Okay. Go. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday to join us. If you're a church goer, you can thank me for getting you out of church today.
I love that. So you mentioned Mark. You mentioned Mark. I remember actually when I was out visiting you guys, I met Mark in person. Actually, I was there when Lance awarded him the $10,000 check for the national contest. That was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, you've been at the studios. You've been at the ticket studios too.
Yep.
We went there right afterward.
Yep.
So. Yeah. That still sticks with me. That moment when Mark got the award and was awarded the check, but mostly because I watched his video beforehand of his story. That was just absolutely amazing. So those are the types of things that stick with you forever. So inspirational.
Well, it started all at the ticket.
It did with Fitness Fanatics.
So maybe, Bryan, you're going to be so inspirational today.
Maybe I could only hope so.
That maybe somebody who's listening will start with us and change their lives.
Well, I could only hope so.
Yeah,
I can tell you that's the thing that really draws me to Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping, because it truly is an inspirational brand. You can't help, like when I walked into your center that morning, it was the first time I walked into a Farrell's, right? I flew out, met Lance, and literally next morning at like 5 o'clock in the morning, it's freezing cold. At least to me, it was like below zero.
It was not.
Well, to me, it was. To me, I was like frozen walking in there. But no, the place was packed and the energy was through the roof. And the second you walk in there, you can't help but be impacted in a positive way and feel like working out. It was really, truly amazing.
Well, so this first segment, Bryan, with our guests, we like for our listeners to get to know our guests. So the things we ask, first of all, where you grew up. And nobody's really going to know where you went to high school. So most people
not
are
our listeners.
Not our listeners.
Yeah.
Most of the people here are, well, I went to small town Nebraska and this and that. But so we want to kind of know where you grew up. And then also, were you active in sports? Like what sports did you love growing up? And did you play any as you got older in high school and maybe in college?
Yeah. So I grew up in central New Jersey, which to a lot of people out in Nebraska probably sounds like, that you're gonna get off the airplane and drive through oil fields and all this. But truthfully, growing up here, it was mostly farms. All that has changed now. I went to also a small high school, at least small for the East Coast, about 1,000 students in the school, which for us is not a lot. I think there's probably towns out there that maybe have 1,000 people from what I hear. Is that true?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
So for us, like 1,000 people is not a lot. Now that school's grown to like, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000 students probably. So the sports that I absolutely love to play, I wasn't much of a team sports player, but I loved martial arts. I've been doing that my entire life. Did martial arts all through high school, all through college. And even, now I still even compete in martial arts. Not saying that I'm really that, amazing at it, but I absolutely love doing it. So I stick with it, and it helps to keep me in shape. But beyond that, I also was on the high school wrestling team, which I loved also. So individual sports were really the thing that I loved the most.
So being in martial arts, I'm assuming you just fell in love with the Karate Kid movies like I did.
Oh, man. Yeah. You're not kidding me, man. I'll tell you, it was like I was already in business for myself at that time. So I was running martial arts school. So I loved it more than most people because it was like a big boom. I mean, everybody wanted to do martial arts. And at the time, we were the only game in town. So it was like there was a line down the street of people who wanted to get involved in martial arts.
Now, I'm assuming that, you're a little bit nicer than John Kreese.
Maybe a little bit. I try.
And did you, now, if you're kind of a nerd out like me on Karate Kid, they had the new show Cobra Kai that's been on since 2018.
Yeah.
And so did you watch the Cobra Kai remake?
Did I watch it?
Yeah.
No, the question is how many times did I watch it?
Good, because I've seen every episode of Cobra Kai. I mean, it was just like
it was binge watching immediately when it came out.
Yes, binge watching
for us.
When you get older, I know you're a little bit older than I am, but when we get older, we like the nostalgia. So for me, it was like Cobra Kai was the nostalgia of the 80s with the Karate Kid. And so we watched all those and one of the first couple episodes of the Karate Kid or the Cobra Kai series, I tell our members at Farrell's this, when one of the kids, Dimitri, back when he was just kind of a nerd starting out, right? Well, he kind of was at the end too, but like he goes into the dojo and Johnny Lawrence is just, Dimitri's just getting the crap beat out of him, right? He's just getting kicked in the face, and then he leaves the dojo and he says, "Thank you, Sensei." So then they're walking away, and he's like, "I can't believe that I show up for this. I get the crap beat out of me. I say thank you, and then I pay him for it."
Exactly. How many of our members joke that way? I mean, they don't really feel it, but they joke that way, right?
Yeah. I say that to our people when they come in to do their before picture, when they're joking with me about like, "Oh, this is uncomfortable," and I'm like, "Well, you'll thank me for this when we leave this room." And they do, because it's just a habit of saying thank you. Everything's done, and they're like, "All right, you're done." And I'm like, "Okay, thank you." And they do every time, and then they're just like, "Dang it, you're right. I did thank you."
But they do thank you at the end of 10 weeks. And they look at the after, and they're like, "Holy cow, I'm glad I took that before so I could remember what I looked like, what I felt like."
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's funny though when they're after leg day and they just, I can't walk up the stairs, and then they're thanking us for it and paying us for it. So that line that Dimitri said, I was just cracking up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So hard, because
we'll have to get T-shirts made with that on it. For sure.
Yep.
So funny. We also like to know, what is so we're in the middle of March Madness, and after the national championship game, they always play One Shining Moment, which I always get goosebumps just watching and listening to that song.
Just listening to that song, I can get goosebumps.
Because it's kind of cool.
Very inspirational song.
Typically, we all have I don't really have a lot of One Shining Moments in my sports career, but typically most people have their One Shining Moments. Was there any moment in your Taekwondo career, or even when you wrestled back in high school, that you would tell your grandkids? We also kind of compare it to Al Bundy, how he scored 4 touchdowns in the city championship.
You must have been reading my mind.
So what's one of those?
I'll tell you. Yeah, no, man. I have one that just sticks right in my mind. In fact, one of my friends said to me, he goes, "You're just like Al Bundy." I was telling him, he says, "You're like Al Bundy. Stop telling the story. That was 40 years ago." What are you doing? But probably one of the best moments in my life was, somebody triggered something in my mind in the martial arts school. And he said, if I put your head on that guy's body, he'd be Bruce Lee. You'd be Bruce Lee. You'd be like Bruce Lee. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, your work ethic is like through the roof, but that guy is just more flexible, more this, more that, more the other." So it triggered this competitive edge in me. And I was like, I am going to put in 4 times. I'm going to double down, triple down, quadruple down, and make this next tournament that I had set my sights on be the best one yet. And the fact of it is that I had this like track record of always coming in. They called it third place, but it was always fourth place because there were 2 third place trophies, which I never quite understood. But there were 2 third place trophies, but I was really getting the fourth.
Knew. Yeah.
Yeah, no matter how hard I tried, I always came in fourth. I was like fourth, maybe every now and then if I pushed a little harder, I came in third. But I put my mind to it and really doubled down on my training, not just my physical training, but my mental training as well, to condition myself to really operate at my optimal best. And I remember coming out of that tournament with a first place trophy and a lot of stories, and just feeling like $1 million and realizing at that point how much our mindset really plays into what results we get in life, whether it's, in martial arts, in sports, business, relationships. Our mindset really does play in. And that was that martial arts tournament was the defining moment that truly proved that to me.
And how old were you at the time? Like what part of?
I'm trying to think if I drove or if my parents drove me to that particular.
Wow.
Yeah, so
okay.
I was probably 16 because I could remember that I didn't drive at the time.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's a great story.
Right. So, Bryan, let's go back to pre-Max Fitness and Wellness. Like, how was this thing born? Like, take us back to what you did to like exercise, nutrition before this was born, because we know Lance Farrell's story about how extreme body shaping got started. So let's kind of go back to how the Max got started. Take us back to the beginning.
Sure. So I grew up in a house where fitness was an important part of our lifestyle, nutrition too. And growing up, like we never had fast food. It just wasn't something that was allowed in our house. But the journey to the Max Challenge and starting the Max Challenge happened when my wife and I learned we were going to become first-time parents. And like most parents, we had hopes and dreams for our children. And every one of the conversations we'd have about what our future would be like ended the same way. As long as our child is born healthy, that's all that would matter, right? Like you guys are parents. I'm sure there's a lot of parents listening, right? And that's the main thing. As long as our family is happy, healthy, that's all that matters. And one day we got the news that everything wasn't going to be okay. Not only was our unborn child's life in jeopardy, but my wife's life was in jeopardy as well. And the doctors informed us that the only way to safeguard my wife's life was to terminate the pregnancy. So you could imagine that was a very, very stressful situation. And thankfully, we left that doctor's office never to return. And the short of it is that my wife and unborn child underwent an experimental surgery. It was so groundbreaking that it was actually covered on the Discovery Channel. If you ever watch those shows on the Discovery Channel where they follow, couples around with the camera and then show all the ups and downs, and finally we were on that show. So it was crazy. It was also on the front page of the New York Times science section. And my wife was in the hospital for an extended period of time. Eventually, my son was born healthy but premature. He was under 2 pounds. So you could imagine having a 2-pound baby brings a lot of challenges. It brings a lot of stress to a family. My wife was still in the hospital and my son was still in the hospital for an extended period of time. And, I devoted my entire life to just, helping my wife and my son to get through this in the best way possible. And I really did not handle the stress of it well. I learned to handle the stress by eating. Mm-hmm. And I went from basically being an athlete to gaining what I would guess would be almost 100 pounds. I didn't weigh myself, and that's why I'm saying I'd guess to be, but I think I probably weighed like 270 pounds. So I went from like 170 to 270. I'm 6 foot tall, so 170 is probably a little light for that, but 270 is way too heavy, for 6 foot tall. So short of it is as my son began to grow and get older and play sports and things like this, become more active and thankfully get healthier, I one day took a look in the mirror and was like, couldn't believe who I had become. How could I be the best parent that I could be if I'm not setting an example of excellence for my own child? Like I couldn't even run up and down the sidelines of the soccer field when he was like just playing like, pee-wee soccer or whatever it was, because I pulled my hamstring or something like that. So I literally one day just drew a line in the sand and said, I'm going to get myself back into the best shape of my life. And as I started to march down that journey, I started to realize that people go to the gym every single day. And day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, these people are walking in and out of the gym. I'm talking the big box gyms, right? Where, they sign up for like just the weights and maybe there's some classes in there, but nobody says anything to them about nutrition. They're just walking in and out. Here, I had disciplined myself. I knew what to do. I started following my nutrition program again and started exercising the right way, the right combination of cardio and strength training. And the weight started to come off. I got back down to 170 pounds and people started to ask me, what are you doing? And I naturally like to share. So I started sharing with a few people. A couple of those people just started to get results. And I started to realize somebody has to combine. At that time, probably the only one that was doing this was Lance Farrell. Legitimately, right? And it's honestly, right? Because he was doing it before me, right? But I was like, somebody in this neighborhood has to combine fitness, nutrition, and motivation to help people get amazing results. And I launched it. I had a measly 32 people enroll for the first 10-week challenge. And that 32 grew to over 500 in just 6 months. And much like the way Farrell's has grown and the way that you folks have grown your centers, it's one thing: results. Once people start getting results and their neighbors and their friends start to see the amazing outcomes that they're achieving, you start to get referrals. And it was just amazing. It was amazing to see that we were having such a positive impact on our communities and people's lives were changing in ways I really couldn't have imagined when I first launched the program.
So where was that first center that you guys opened? Like what city was that in?
It was in Manalapan. It's still there, obviously, to this day.
Right.
And actually, we started it as more of a program than anything, right? We had these karate schools, and it was empty in the morning. So we ran a couple of classes, and I tell you, like, to go from 32 people to 500 in 6 months, it was so exciting. It was such and then it caught on like wildfire. From the names of the towns don't mean much to you guys, but we went from like Manalapan to Old Bridge and it was just neighboring communities, one after another, until we no longer had any more communities in New Jersey legitimately, and then started going into New York and then into Connecticut and then in the other direction to Pennsylvania.
So I know like one of the really unique things about Farrell's and all of the franchise owners is we all kind of started, even Nicole and I started taking our before picture in a 10-week challenge, in a gym, in a Farrell's. Ours was in, Nicole did her first 10-week challenge was actually at the Beaverdale location when it wasn't even Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping. What was it called? UBC, Ultimate Body Challenge.
Yeah.
So that's how long we've been around. So that was like one of their first centers that they did was Beaverdale, and then over in Urbandale. But it was, I remember like one person moved to Nicole. What was the first center in Minnesota? Was it Blaine?
I don't remember. Well, but that might be right.
So one of like an instructor moved to Blaine, Minnesota, and started the Farrell's there. And then from there, people came and did the challenge. And then an instructor moved to another town, and then an instructor moved to another town. It was like, it just kind of caught on. Is that kind of how the Max Challenge grew? Was like, you had people coming in and seeing results. They're like, wow, this is awesome. I want to start my own in my city. Is that how it grew for you guys also?
100%. And it's the best kind of growth. In fact, when I visit Farrell centers throughout the Midwest, it really is like a spitting image of the Max Challenge, and the Max Fitness and Wellness is also a spitting image of Farrell's. Like, it's amazing because the culture that's been created in the two organizations is driven by the passion of the individual owners. And I don't think you could really replicate that in many brands. I mean, I dare to say, but I think it's true. I really do believe this throughout the world. I think Farrell's and the Max have something really unique because the owners are so passionate because they've experienced it themselves. They know what it's like.
Yeah, from the very beginning. Like, we can tell people at orientation, like, we remember sitting on these mats, never having thrown a punch, a kick, didn't know what a lateral raise was with a band. When Nicole and I,
some people know what that's. Right.
But we had no clue what was going on, and we got our picture taken in our underwear, and our weight done by a stranger, and so we've experienced all those feelings that they're feeling now. Like, we still have our before pictures of our 10-week challenge.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Kind of like what you have, like what you sent me. Like, I got those pictures from you, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I didn't know you looked like that. And I
Well, you talking about the hair? The hair?
Yeah.
I had to shave that off. And I used to go to the beach like that too, Jeff. That's what's so scary. Like,
in a sweater.
Yeah, it was. Nobody said anything to me. It's very embarrassing. Like, someone should have said, "Hey, buddy, get a big razor."
That was a big deal back then.
Did you get my George the Animal Steel reference?
No.
Wrestling, WWE.
I do remember George the Animals. Yeah, but I mean, did you text it to me? You should have sent me.
Well, it was in an email that I had sent back to
I didn't see that one. I think that's hilarious. I got to use
that. It was the reply to you sending that picture.
Yeah.
I thought a good headline for an ad would be, "It's so easy a caveman could do it," and then I'd show like the before with all the hair and the beard and everything, and then the after with looking nice.
And I think that's also what's helped the evolution of both programs too, because in my before picture, I was wearing white like socks. And so and it just looks ridiculous in my picture. And to this day, like, I will not take a before picture with someone's socks on just because it looks silly. But mine was like extra ridiculous. This was back when like it wasn't cool to wear the high socks.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So it's like you're in the, I was in my sports bra, biking shorts, and these white socks. Getting my picture taken in the bathroom at Ankeny Farrell's. And so I now to this day just will not allow people to wear socks. Like, it's part of it.
I think that should become a rule, like system wide in both brands. Like,
I'm like, it's like wearing socks to the
maybe
pool.
They shouldn't even wear them to the gym. I'm thinking maybe.
So but I think that's also what has helped the program, evolve also, because I remember that day. I remember getting my picture taken. I don't remember the name of the person who took my picture, but it was a guy. I remember that, which is also why I take all the pictures in our locations. But I remember what he looks like. I don't remember his name. So
that's smart. Another thing that sticks out about these before and afters that I think is really powerful. Sometimes you look at the before and the people have like such a frown or a look of nervousness, or maybe even that they're not happy with themselves. And then you look at the after and there's just this like incredible smile and people just look so happy. And
that's my favorite part.
Yeah. The changes that happen on the inside, not just the ones. Yeah.
Yep. That is my favorite part of every 10-week session, and putting the pictures together and seeing just the change in how people carry themselves. And I mean, I was there for both the pictures, so I know the conversations that were happening before that before picture was taken, but it's really cool to see it and what can change like in 10 weeks. Sure.
It's amazing what can change in 10 weeks.
Well, we know. Yeah. Yes, we know.
And it's too, speaking of like the culture of Farrell's and what you guys do, like, I'm still amazed that like Farrell's Extreme Body Shaping has been doing this for 22 years now. And we've been in Lincoln for over 15. And it's amazing. Like, every 10-week challenge, there's more new people.
There's people who've never heard of us still, which is
Mhm.
crazy to me. Like,
I love that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. It is crazy that there's people who haven't heard of it.
mm-hmm.
So
Exciting.
how do you, so like for Nicole and I, and we've been at this for, gosh, well, it'll be 12 years as owners now in June for us. So how do you find, like, I'm trying to word this question. Like, how do you keep, like, find the, okay, I'm just like tongue tied.
I don't know
What do
what's
you
in
think?
your brain.
Oh, come
Like-
on. We've been married 27 years. Figure it out.
Not yet.
No, close.
The passion. How do you keep
yes,
up?
like you keep the passion,
The
after
fire
all-
burning for
after
the programs.
all this
Mhm.
time.
I'll tell you, ever since I could remember, I've had an inner desire to help people. And sometimes, that gets clouded from time to time, right? So, but like I have this like burning desire to help other people succeed, to succeed myself, but also to share and to help other people. So for me, it's reminding myself literally every single morning that my mission is to help people live happier, healthier, more fulfilled lives. And not just in a superficial way, but to really kind of dig deep and to reach that part of my mind and heart that is really the essence of who I am, and connect with it and remind myself of the good that we're doing, even though every now and then it gets tough. And you can't have those good times. You can't have those people coming to you and saying, thank you for what you've done for me, if you don't persevere through the trials and tribulations of life, basically.
Yeah.
I have a quick story, if I could just tell you real quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was out to lunch with my parents not too long ago, and we're sitting at the table. I'm like, these people are staring at me. They're like, come on, like, get over it. You're not that famous. Like, oh yeah, some people know you because you started the Max, but, and I'm like, no, I'm telling you, like, these people over here are staring at me. They get up off the table. They come over to us, and the woman says to me, hey, I hope you don't mind me interrupting, but my husband did your program, lost a tremendous amount of weight, and he is a heart attack survivor. And I attribute this to saving his life, because he was heading back. He had heart surgery to correct, his clogged arteries and such, but he was headed back on that track. And until he came into the Max, he was headed back in that direction. And I really attribute this to saving his life. And that was an amazing moment that I anchored to. And, because my parents were sitting right there, and it was a great moment for them, because they're like, wow, like this really is meaningful that this person took the time to say something like this. And those are the types of moments that I really try to anchor to, because in anything that you're doing, whether it's trying to lose weight yourself or get in shape or start a physical fitness routine, there's going to be ups and downs. You got to connect to your purpose and your why, and really anchor to something that's bigger than yourself in order to move through that 10 weeks in the best way possible. Or if it's, starting a business, whatever it is that you're trying to do, I really do believe in anchoring to these small moments and being able to call back to how you felt in that moment. And those feelings and those emotions will help you act in a powerful way, even when you feel disempowered. It's a way for us to kind of bring ourselves back into a positive state.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a trap sometimes, because we feel that way too. And if, as any business owner, you have, like you said, ups and downs and hard times, and the fitness industry is very fickle, very faddish. So there's been a lot in 12 years of, ups and downs. But if it was any other business, if you think about other businesses we could own a restaurant, we could own a hair salon, we could own all these other businesses, it would be a lot easier to just walk away when those times get hard. But because, like you've said, we've anchored ourselves to helping other people, that is like kind of the trap of it, but in the best way. That's what's helped us keep going through those hard times, because that's just life. That's inevitable. You're going to have hard times in your life. And sometimes you do have to pivot and make different choices. But when you always have, like AD says, strong reasons, weaken excuses, like our members are our reasons. So what we kind of don't have a lot of excuses. We just kind of have to buckle up and
keep going. And I think it's an amazing example for our members, because when they walk into any of our centers, they know beyond a doubt that they're getting coached by people that know how to work through the ups and downs and can coach them and give them strategies and tools to adjust whatever it is in their plan that needs to be adjusted, whether it's actual nutrition coaching or behavioral coaching that keeps them on track towards their goals. Like, they are walking into the right place because they're dealing with people that they themselves have been through it and know how to relate and coach them through those situations to get the absolute best results.
And that's what can be hard about the fitness industry too, because, a lot of it is so social media driven right now. And so you're seeing everybody's, polished and glossy, presentation to the world when it comes to social media. But I think that's why group fitness is so powerful, because you do get to see the real life. I don't go into the gym with a full face of makeup. I probably don't even brush my hair every morning before I go to the gym because I'm wearing a hat and I wear a ponytail. Like, we are real people. I'm not
100%.
constantly thinking like, how am I going to be perceived? Because my job isn't me. My job is them. And I think that is why group fitness can be so powerful.
Yeah,
for people.
let's leave it right there, and we'll continue this conversation after we take a quick break. So stay with us. 93.7 The Ticket, the Fitness Fanatics.
Now back to Fitness Fanatics on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back to the Fitness Fanatics. We are joined all the way from New Jersey by Bryan Klein. He is the CEO of Fit Franchise Brands and the founder and owner of the Max Challenge gyms, now known as the Max Fitness and Wellness Centers. So we're pleased to have him with us. So when we ended here, the last conversation, we were just kind of getting into group fitness and why we love group fitness. So Bryan, kind of expand on that as far as like what makes group fitness so unique and so powerful.
Especially from someone who an hour ago on our show, you were like, I didn't really play team sports in school. I was more of an individual sports person, because you could have gone that route. You could have gone the
personal training
or, some type of a coaching type route versus that group kind of fitness dynamic.
Yeah. It's interesting because even other people who come into our classes and say, yeah, no, I'm not into like the group thing. I'm not into the high five. I just want the results. I'm just going to come in. Like 2 weeks later, they're like, I don't know, I'm going on vacation, but I'm sure going to miss all these people and these classes. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do without you guys. So, that community that is built is more powerful than I even imagined. Just being in a group of like-minded people, especially during the 10-week session where everybody in that group is striving towards the same thing, basically, right? To better their life in some way, either to tone up, shed weight, change, something mentally about themselves, get in a better mood, regulate their mood better. Like, whatever the goal is, everybody's goal in that 10 weeks is to better themselves. And you'd be surprised, or people would be surprised who don't experience it, how fast people bond together and support each other. And that to me is like priceless.
Yeah. Some of the best stories that I hear are, well, I'll take two of our instructors at Yankee Ridge, Kelly and Crystal, didn't know each other pre-Farrell's. Now they are best friends. They go on vacations together. They're inseparable. And they had no clue who each other was before they came to Farrell's.
Or your favorite story when we have couples who meet at Farrell's and then they they get married and
that's
then they have babies. That's your favorite.
That's
too.
Right. Yes. Like we have a couple, Bryce and Casey. What?
Nothing.
No, I was talking about now they're getting married.
Yeah.
Right. They knew each other in high school, but they didn't date, or maybe they dated a little bit. But then Casey was a member at Farrell's. Bryce joined Farrell's, had no idea that Casey was the member there. No clue.
Nope.
Saw her, and now they're getting married
Next weekend.
2
right?
weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
In 2 weeks. And I tell him, I'm like,
You
guys,
get to be
It's a
there.
great story.
if it wasn't for me moving to Nebraska, keeping these Farrell's locations going and thriving, you would not be getting married.
Yep.
Right?
I
Those are
love
your
that.
favorite stories.
And we've also had stories of people that have met each other, like Curtis and Bridget,
Mhm.
met at Farrell's. Now they're married.
Yep.
We have people that have, they've had kids. They met at Farrell's. And I always say that is a Farrell's baby right there.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of cool.
Another powerful part of the group fitness is, sometimes you just don't feel like working out, but you got enough in you to get yourself to the gym. And then that person next to you just smiles or gives you a pat on the back or a high five or a good morning, whatever it might be, or you see them working hard and that energy rubs off on you. And it kind of is enough to get you going out of that mood and into the mood of wanting to work out. So the group environment really helps people to work hard even when they don't feel like it, right? Sometimes you're down and the person next to you lifts you up. Sometimes they're down and you lift them up.
I agree. Like, I've been teaching strength training for 16 years. And, there's some classes, like if just one or two people are there, like, I'll get up and I'll teach the class, and you give yourself a workout too, obviously, when you're teaching the strength training classes. But if nobody showed up to a class, I don't think I could stand up there and do a workout for just me.
I say that a lot too, and it's a particularly tough workdout.
17
I would
years.
never have done all of that on my own.
Nope. I wouldn't have pushed myself. I could go into Anytime Fitness, and they have all these machines, and I've been doing strength training for all this time. I'd look around and be like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how many curls am I supposed to? Like, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah. You know what you're doing. You just have
I have no
discipline,
motivation to do it for myself at all. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But with Farrell's, all you have to do is show up, and somebody's going to lead you through the workout, and there's a group of supportive people to cheer you on. It's amazing.
And it leads to other things. We've done half marathons, triathlons. Like, we've done a lot since then, just that building that confidence too. So it is crazy how this one program or two programs, Max and Farrell's, like, the programs are what they are. Farrell's is what it is. We've changed very little about our program over 22 years.
Very little. Yes.
Some of our strength training has become more dynamic, more focused on progressive overload. But beyond that, everything's the same. But we have such a variety of people who do the program. And I've been doing Farrell's since, I started at UBC, but when I started Farrell's, our son was 5 months old. He's 18 now. So this is the 18th anniversary of my first session, was this session starting.
In spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. March of 2007. March of 2007 is when I started. And I started because I was a stay-at-home mom, and I just wanted to be around my friends again for 45 minutes a day. So that's why I started. But over 18 years, like, I am obviously a completely different person now. And that reason has evolved for me, but the program has always been there for me. And it's been there for every stage in my life growing up. I was 20.
That's an amazing story. I mean, if you really think about how you could stick with the program and it meets your needs for 18 years, transitioning through all different types of life events and such, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Our daughter is 22, and, so hopefully in the next 5 years, we'll have grandkids, I started because,
hopefully.
Right. I know, no pressure, but I started Farrell's when our son was a baby, and how cool is that it'll still serve a purpose. That is our purpose now, right? That's why we stay healthy. We want to stay healthy for our future family, stuff like that. So that's definitely, that has changed. The program has not. And so I think sometimes people think like, oh, it's repetitive, it's boring. Well, that's what works. Like, you can't expect to see consistent results if you're consistently changing what you're doing. Like if you're
Right.
jumping from thing to thing to thing. And sometimes you have to do that to find what you really enjoy. But at the same time, like, our elite athletes don't constantly change what they're doing. They, they find what works for them and they stick with that. They hone it. They maybe do certain, extra workouts when they need to and stuff like that, conditioning, stuff like that. But it's like, that's the big thing. If you can find something you really love doing and that thing can be consistent, then you can change as a person, but the program's still there for you. Right.
That's amazing. And you do have different styles of classes. So it's not like they're coming in every single, it's not like we're doing the same exact workout 6 days in a row or whatever it might be. It's constantly changing.
Yeah, whenever people talk about how overwhelming, like, oh, I don't know if I can work out 6 days a week. And I'm like, it is 6 days a week, but it's so varied. So like, you still get rest days during that week. So like, obviously we are in our program, lower body leg day is on a Tuesday. And so you do leg day on Tuesday. Well, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Monday, that's rest day for your leg day,
Right.
And then leg day is your cardio rest day. So you're still building in rest days because it's so varied. Yeah, we're not just running every single day, or we're not just lifting every single day.
Yeah.
The same muscles. You can lift multiple times a week and still get really good results. But again, you kind of have to have a plan. And with group fitness, you just show up and we tell you what to do, which is, I think, really helpful for a lot of people.
I love that. It sticks in my mind whenever I see you guys, especially today, because we're on the radio show and we were talking about Mark at the beginning. But I think that's an important part of the Farrell's program, meaning that you're surrounded by these incredible stories of people too, that it just opens your mind to the possibilities. Like when you see the videos of all these different national challenge winners and just take a second to just be like, holy cow, like people are successful at this and they have every reasonable excuse to not be successful at it. Like anybody in their right mind would say, listen, like you've had a terrible life tragedy, take a break from fat, but they overcome and they persevere. And hearing those types of stories too, it's not a regular gym where you're walking in and just getting the physical piece of the equation. You're constantly being inspired by the people around you, and it makes it easier to stay on track. That's one of the things I love the most about this.
I just had a huge light bulb moment. We need to have Andrea back on to talk about this. So
Okay.
Jeff's sister Andrea has joined us a couple times, and she's a therapist. So she's helped us with like ADHD and fitness and stuff like that. But I just had this moment of you explaining that, which is so true. And we know that. That's what I love about it, because I can be a small part of all of these transformations. But Jeff, that's probably why you love doing this so much, because you didn't have those moments growing up in school. Just if you've listened to our show, there's so many just like terrible stories of crashing and burning in group sports in high school. But like, so even when we were talking to Bryan at the beginning about the one shining moment, you're like, well, I don't really have one, but we do. We're part of so many one shining moments. So maybe that's why you gravitate so much for it, because you didn't have that for yourself growing up. It was something that was missing.
That could be
in your life when you were younger, and now you're constantly trying to continue to fill that bucket, but you've done it in a healthy way, and we're helping other people. But I do love that, because I have so many stories, and you have stories, but I have stories of friends who had struggled. One of our friends, Caleb Pike. So a long time ago at Farrell's, we used to do a step test where you had to step up and down for 4 minutes and check your heart rate just to make sure you were healthy enough to start the program. And he failed the step test the first time and wasn't able to start the 10-week challenge. And then he went home, and most people, we don't see them again. Like, it's just a devastating moment, and it's really hard to get them kind of back after that moment. And he was in his 20s at the time. He went home, started doing stuff on his own, lost about 20 pounds, came back to the next 10-week session. This was a long time ago, but came back and did the next 10-week session. And then through that, him and his wife, Nicole, changed their whole lives. I was there and trained with Caleb for his first half marathon. He continued on, did marathons. He continued on, did triathlons. He did an Ironman triathlon. And I feel like I had a part in that. And that's just really cool. I love those stories. And we have so many of those stories, but
amazing.
Awesome.
And the piece that a lot of people don't understand if they've never experienced it themselves, it's not just doing the Ironman or the triathlon or the half marathon or the 5K or whatever it might be. It's the confidence that comes along with it, because people become better people, better parents, better employees, better business owners, whatever it might be. It impacts all areas of your life in ways that really you wouldn't know until you experience it yourself.
It is.
When you were talking about the consistency about, because we've been doing this for, you're going on 18 years. I'm in year 16, 17 right now. It reminds me of Remember the Titans. Bryan, have you seen Remember the Titans? Denzel Washington. Okay.
Yeah.
When they're learning the new offense, and the coach Yost is like, Coach, maybe we can expand on this playbook a little bit. We got some trick plays we like to use. And he's like, nope, I run 6 plays. It's like Novocaine, works every time. Right? That's like what Farrell's is.
It's true.
We do this.
That's any successful program.
Yes. 6 plays, works like Novocaine every time.
Yep.
I love that. I'm going to use that one.
That's another one. That's another shirt. We have 2 shirt ideas from the show.
Yes.
From TV.
Because I know people, I want to try this.
Well, there's a lot out there. And
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with trying new things. But once you find something you like, you just stick with it. And you're not always going to love it every single day.
Right.
But you're going to love the results. You're going to love how you feel.
It's like Novocaine.
Right.
Give it time. Follow these 6 plays, and it will work.
And they won, right?
Yep, they won. Yes. All right. Last segment. We just have a couple more minutes left with Bryan. So, Bryan, we're going to turn the floor over to you. There's a lot of listeners out there that maybe they're not sure what to do to get started. They've been thinking about doing something. Give them a little pep talk.
Sure.
For us.
Yeah, I think that the biggest obstacle to overcoming whatever might be stopping us towards a healthier, happier life is ourselves. And I was taught this formula. It's not something that I've made up, but it's a formula that I've applied to my life, and it's worked for me. Like, I guess, like you said before, like Novocaine, right? The 6 step. This is a 5-step formula. You said there's 6 plays, and you just stick to those 6 plays. These are the 5 steps that I've used, and I see many and many, many members getting absolutely fantastic results sticking to something like this, whether they know it or not. And I think, talking through this a bit and explaining it to people could be very helpful in getting started, but then even more importantly, in sticking with the program. So the first part of this is to conceive a vision for yourself. Because if your vision is to just lose 5 pounds or to look better in a bathing suit in the summer, it's really not enough to get you up at 5 o'clock in the morning or to stick with a nutrition program over an extended period of time. So number 1 would be really conceive this vision, determine, a lot of people call it their why, right? Mm-hmm. So if your why is more connected to your family, and as an example, like what I like to do is I keep a picture of my family on here and I'll flash that in front of me before I do my morning workout. And I realize I'm doing my workout for my kids. I'm doing my workout for my family. I'm doing my workout so I could spend healthy time with my grandkids who aren't even born yet, right? So that's more motivating, and that'll get me up out of bed. So number 1, conceive your vision. Number 2 is challenge your beliefs, because as you start working towards your vision, if it's a big enough vision, your beliefs, your current set of beliefs often stand in the way, right? We all have 2 people living inside of us. The one that says, go for it, you can do this. And the other one that's saying, what are you, crazy? Getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning or going to work out at 7 o'clock after work. It's too much. It's too intense. It's not too intense. It's not too much. There's thousands of people that are doing this every single day. So challenge your beliefs, and something amazing starts to happen when you challenge your beliefs, right? So when you continue forward on the path, even though in the back of your mind, that little voice is saying to you, who are you to think that you deserve those results that those national challenge winners get? Who are you to think that you're going to have an amazing before and after? But you continue forward anyway, and you push forward, your beliefs start to shift and change. From someone who says, I'm not an early morning exerciser, as an example, to someone who's like, I can't believe how easy it is for me to exercise in the mornings now. I love exercising in the morning. From someone who says, I'm not an athlete, I'm not someone who exercises, not someone who eats nutritiously, someone who says, I can't believe what my life would be like if I didn't eat nutritiously or exercise regularly. So again, step one, conceive the vision. Two, as you start marching towards that vision, challenge your limiting beliefs and replace your limiting beliefs with more empowering, positive beliefs. The next step just happens naturally when you do that. You begin to achieve your goals. The magic starts to happen. The fat starts to roll off your body. Your muscles start to tone up. Your attitude about yourself starts to change. And as you start to achieve your goals, the next step also naturally starts to happen. You naturally start to inspire the people around you. And the same people that might have been naysayers at the beginning, like, you're doing what? A 10-week challenge? Like, what the heck? Are then coming to you and going, what was the name of that again? Farrell's? Let me write that down. What's the phone number? Could you give me the email? Could you do an intro? Right? So as you start to inspire people around you and they say, great job, congratulations. How are you doing that? What are you doing? It builds you up even more. And then you don't go to step 5 yet. You go back to step 1. You don't stop. You create a bigger vision for yourself. As you start marching towards that vision, you overcome more limiting beliefs, replace them with even more empowering beliefs. You begin to achieve more. You inspire more people. You go back to the beginning, and this becomes a cycle. You go around and around and around until you look behind you and you realize that you're now in step 5. You've created the legacy behind you. There's all these people that, because of the example that you set, have been impacted in a positive way. Through your story, the example that you set, more people have stepped into a healthy lifestyle. More people have become positive about themselves, have increased their self-image, their own confidence, all because of the story that you've developed for yourself. Just like you guys impacted me just a few minutes ago by telling me the story about the member who literally did an Ironman, which, if people don't know, that's crazy accomplishment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very inspirational. And that story now, that's something I might tell to somebody else, because it just keeps going and going. That person created a legacy and is impacting people far beyond probably what he even recognizes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Like, I'm sitting here listening to this. I'm like, this is a whole nother show. Like, these 5 steps. Like,
yeah.
we could talk about this for another hour.
Yep.
But unfortunately, we're out of time. But I wrote all those down because that's awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Ryan, taking your time out of your Sunday to visit with us.
Yep.
Of course.
Keep changing lives, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks. Take care, guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you.